Welcome back to the show. Call me on speaker. Got another segment for you guys today. Today we talking Grammys. So of course I had to reach out to the guy, the music guy, A&R, music genius, music historian, and he's got some up and coming amazing music projects on the way. Mr. Mecc, what's up?
One time, salute, King. Good to talk to you, Aaron. What's the word?
Salute, salute. Well, the Grammys just happened, and naturally, I wanted to get your take on what stood out to you the most from last night's award ceremony.
Real niggas is back. We back up in this bit. Listen. I'm being funny, but I'm not. I thought the categories, the people who were in the main issue that people always have had with the Grammys is how often they seem to get it wrong. And not only do they get it wrong, they get it totally wrong. Like they seem so out of step and so out of place with how the people feel, and by people I mean culture. They always seem so out of step with not just how the culture feels, but also how the artists themselves feel. It has cost them credibility. What I've been telling people maybe the last year or two, 3 years, is that you have to remember the people who made those same mistakes, the people who made those same decisions, the people who counted in those artists and counted out those other artists. Those people are gone. You know what I mean? The committee isn't a lifelong appointment. It's not the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
It rotates in and out, and as it rotates in and out, you have people coming in who are now like, oh, okay, this is what it's supposed to be.
Understood.
No. This is the guy. No, this album is clearly better in this culture, in this role. You have no idea what, we know. We're in this culture, so we know what moves the needle around here. Not just what you heard of, and not just what was brought and sold, and somebody spent enough money on this to get it in front of you, so now you think this is all there is. No. Doechii is going to be here. The Clipse new album is going to be here. Never mind the fact that, they're both in their 50s. Forget that. This is a dope-ass album. No. Kendrick's going to be here. The artistic, the creative, the all that stuff is going to be over here, and we're going to honor that, and we're not really looking at record sales. We're looking at who made the best product, who made the best album, who made the best body of work. And me seeing that, I love to see the Grammys getting back right. I love to see artists who wanted a Grammy now feel validated for going after one, because whatever motivates an artist to do their best work, I'm all for.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. Yeah, not to cut your wisdom. I totally agree. And I think I see your perspective. So I guess my follow-up question would be, and people have heard that traditionally the Grammys was more of like a courting process where artists would have to kind of court the members of the Grammy board, participate in certain events, kind of like be in that scene to be seen enough to be considered. Do you feel like this is an indication that whoever's on the board right now is less about that buddy friendly politic and more about, like you said, the music, the culture?
I think two things can be true at the same time. I think if an album is dope, you're going to get out, you're going to campaign, you're going to advertise. I think it's okay for the Grammy committee and the Grammy people to want you to come around so they can get to know the artists that they're considering, artistic wise, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, I think in order to even be on their radar in the first place, the product has to be quality. Like it's the tail wagging the dog. It's not going to be the other way around. The music's got to be dope first, and then the campaigning can start. But if the music's not dope, then there's no reason for you to even campaign, right?
Makes sense. Yes, exactly.
Now, this is being said from somebody who's been invited to become a member of the Academy. I have the credentials and the resume for it. I've actually been approached a couple of times myself. So I'm telling you, with a slightly more educated guest than the regular person versus me telling you as a member of the Academy, because I'm not. So you know what I mean. What I'm saying is, I see how the system could work, but I can't promise you that that's how it works because I'm not in the system.
Got you. So then getting back to like the music and the artists and the award winners last night, was there anything that surprised you or stood out to you in a positive or a negative way?
I was surprised that Bad Bunny got what did he get? Album of the year?
Album of the year, correct.
Yeah, that surprised me. That surprised me.
And why did that surprise you if you don't mind me asking?
Because it's a mostly Spanish album, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought so. I wasn't positive. It's been a while since I checked for it, and because I don't speak Spanish, so that surprised me. It's dope though, but it surprised me because it's a mostly Spanish album, and that just means language is no longer a barrier to making dope music or for dope music being recognized.
Yeah, because it took album of the year for the whole thing. So now you see that okay, Spanish, and I believe the album is all Spanish. I don't even think there's like really any maybe some English slang here and there, some Spanglish type, but I think it's a completely Spanish album. So that, like you said, that's kind of an indication of where the culture is moving and the tolerance in society, and also a testament to the influence and the power of Bad Bunny and his machine.
Word, word, word. Because you need all of the above, right? You need all of the above. I don't think the Grammys should be a place for necessarily a hard luck story, but I do think it should be more about artistic merit and artistic quality than how much your budget is.
True.
And there are definitely people who could afford to buy awards if that was the case. You know what I mean? If that was the case, Drake would have had one. If it was just money, right?
If it was just money, then yeah, that's exactly the point. And you can make the argument Taylor Swift as well.
Bro, Taylor Swift, Elton John, Nicki Minaj. She might have some money to snag something.
That's
right?
true.
So if it was just about who's got the most money, then there are some names that Madonna would be sweeping the awards if it was about bread.
True.
Babyface, dudes like that would be up in the awards, sweeping everything moving. So I'm just happy that it's leaning more towards artistic merit. What surprised me good was Nicki getting called out. That was crazy.
The Trevor Noah joke, the comment.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming, and I should have.
Trevor is the type of comic who is definitely going to make a statement when he has these type of opportunities, especially considering the fact that he was the host of the Daily Show, so he has a political background, for better or for worse. So he is more qualified than the average comic to make a kind of political statement in this type of environment where it seems like there was a bunch of political statements being made all around.
Because the world has grown into a place where politics isn't something that you can ignore. As much as a lot of us would like to put our head in the sand and just enjoy ourselves and be entertained, politics has begun to permeate every aspect of regular human life and interaction. So it's going to be all over the place. Trevor Noah is a political comedian. I also happen to have firsthand knowledge that he is a deeply entrenched hip-hop head. Deeply entrenched. I've seen the video of him walking up to Busta and just kicking the lyrics. He just needed Busta to know that he knew his record.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that was their first. If I'm not mistaken, I'm almost sure that was their first time ever meeting, and Trevor Noah really looked like the look on his face during the interaction was kind of like, yes, this is why I'm famous. Like, this is what I've been fucking waiting for. And I get to meet famous people that I really fuck with and famous rappers and musicians and actors that I really dig. And this is it. This is what I'm talking about. And he was happy to be on the scene.
That's
kicking Busta lyrics. So he would. You're right. He would be the person to make that joke and to make that comment. And I'm glad he did. I'm glad he did. Tell the world how you feel. Tell the world how you feel.
Well, shout out to Trevor Noah. I know a lot of comics who are in his orbit. So, and whenever you get an opportunity to get a job placement like Comedy Central, regardless of the politics, that's just a huge deal as an entertainer to have a job. so
Facts.
so shout out to
Regular
him and
income.
everybody in that orbit. I want to kind of wrap this segment up specifically with quick discussion about Kendrick Lamar and how you felt about Luther winning Record of the Year, as well as Kendrick winning Best Rap Album, and these victories allowing him to surpass Jay-Z in the total Grammy count.
Two things. One, Luther's a great record. It wasn't my favorite on the album, but it doesn't have to be. It not being my favorite doesn't mean it was a bad record. You dig?
Yeah.
It just wasn't my favorite one. That being said, a little nod to Luther Vandross, some soulful singing from SZA. I ain't mad. I'm glad that Chains and Whips got something too. So, I'm not mad.
Yeah.
I'm not mad. Kendrick surpassing Jay was inevitable because Jay came from the era where the Grammys were still struggling to get it right.
Okay.
And Jay is nowhere near as active as Kendrick is. So that doesn't, those two things don't shock me when you take it all into context. When you look at it all and get it all in perspective, it all makes sense. Jay literally came from the era where they were boycotting the Grammys.
Yeah, that's true.
For getting it so wrong. So with that said, it's fair to say Jay walked so Kendrick could fly.
Yeah, actually, yes. Yes, 100%. And Kendrick, and that's kind of the argument here, because I think like the hip hop politic ramifications of this is kind of like the whole, Kendrick is a shoo-in for a Grammy whenever he like touches a pen. And it's sort of like the stereotype of like, oh, they're just gonna give Kendrick a Grammy. And I think Drake was even using that angle when they were having their battle. But then to the point of like the overall legacy of all of it, Kendrick does represent like a cultural shift. Like not only him with the Grammy, but him also winning, I believe it was the Pulitzer Prize.
Yeah.
I think you're seeing like his acceptance in mainstream culture. The Pulitzer, the Grammys, the Super Bowl, regardless of how it's received and the political ramifications, because we just live in a very political society, the fact that he's platformed at the highest level, the fact that he's accepted at the highest level, when, to your point, Jay-Z was not at the height of his career able to get that kind of shine and that kind of love from the general, national audience like Kendrick has. That is a testament to like how far hip hop has pushed the needle in its favor, and how ready it is to still be the dominant genre.
Which is why I always felt when Drake said Kendrick just opened his mouth, someone go give him a Grammy right now. I always thought that dig. How do I say this? I always thought that wasn't the flex Drake thought it was. Kendrick getting a Grammy every time he opens his mouth is directly parallel with the fact that Kendrick is one of the few artists who deliver substance consistently, whether through lyrical density or his storytelling or just, the content period, always is above and beyond the fluff world where Drake, rules. So if he's going to get a Grammy every time he opens his mouth, if he's getting awarded from an academy that highlights artistic excellence, then yeah, bro, maybe that says way more about the nature of where he is, the standards of where he is, as opposed to him himself. They're not treating him like he's special. They probably just want more of him to come on out because he's the guy who's really giving it up versus doing what everybody else is doing, kicking what everybody else is kicking, beats from the exact same producer, songs about the exact same shit. Maybe the guy who's actually standing out is the guy who's really, really getting it popping. Dog, I got my eye on best new artist. Like, if this is what we playing at, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, yes, and it seems like a very positive direction. Because we spent a lot of time in the last couple years talking about hip hop sales being down, and it seemed like a very dark time for the genre. But then since the Drake Kendrick battle, we've been seeing silver lining after silver lining, sign after sign that at least when it comes to traditional hip hop, not necessarily the subgenres. No disrespect to drill and all those other guys, but we're seeing that like when Killer Mike got his Grammy. And shout out to him, he was back at the Grammys after a 2-year hiatus. But when Killer Mike got his Grammy, that was an indication, right? Seeing the Clipse up there, that's another clear sign. And then Kendrick doing what people have come to expect Kendrick to do. The fact that it's an expectation is also a clear sign that there's a path here. And like you said, it's the quality of the music, it's the level of the music, the intellect that's behind it, but also just like the musical intricacies, the way the artistry is from the production to the poetry, to just the whole packaging of it, I think is like really, really well made. And it's not for the club. It's something that you have to see. It's like a book as opposed to a commercial. I think it's like that's the best
Welcome to the
comparison.
life. Like, again, like you said, and I couldn't agree with you more. It feels like we're heading back to a purer form, and I'm thankfully, thank God, I'm grown enough to remember a time when hip hop wasn't for everybody.
Mm.
It wasn't for the masses. You had to know. They didn't just hand it out. It wasn't in television commercials and in every movie. It wasn't on the radio 24 hours a day. There was literally a time when hip hop would come on and then go off, and it was only over the weekend. You couldn't find it during the week. I still remember R&B songs with hip hop verses in them, with rap verses during the bridge, like a full rap bridge. And I still remember the radio playing the song and then muting out the rap part.
Wow.
I still remember that. We were kids. We had, it was a fight to get recognition and to get put on in a real way. And I remember those days. I was a kid, but you talk to enough people, you hear the stories, you read the books. There was a time when that was a real thing. So if that's the case, us going back to a time when it wasn't for everybody, I'm all for it, especially if it means we shake off some of the frauds who are only here trying to get paid due to, never got women when they were growing up, and this is their only way to do it. I'm all for shaking off cats who want to be famous more than they want to be good.
Well, thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate that. And we're going to have you calling in on more topics and stuff because I actually going to hit you up later in this week. I got to get your opinion on the J. Cole project. I want to know how you feel about the project in context of the whole situation, and whether or not he's throwing more fuel on the fire or he's actually being retrospective, or two things are being true at the same time. But in the meantime, I really appreciate you speaking on the Grammys. And if there's anything you want to say or shout out, just let me know right now.
Mr. Mecc on YouTube. I go live every night at 6 o'clock, and we have these exact same style conversations because the real ones are all talking about the same thing, and I'm definitely here for it. Pull up on YouTube, Mr. Mecc. Like, share, and subscribe. You know the drills. Let's get it popping. Aaron, thank you for having me. Can't wait for the next trip.
Of course. Thank you so much for pulling up, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night. Thank you.
Sooner than later, King. Peace.
Peace.